What will humans look like in a million years? To understand our future evolution, we need to look to our past. Will our descendants be cyborgs with high-tech machines implants, regrowable limbs and cameras for eyes like something out of a science fiction novel? Might humans morph into hybrid species of biological and artificial beings? Or could we become smaller or taller, thinner or fatter, or even with different facial features and skin color? Of course, we don't know, but to consider the question, let's scoot back a million years to see what humans looked like then. For a start, Homo sapiens didn't exist. A million years ago, there were probably a few different species of humans around, including Homo heidelbergensis, which shared similarities with both Homo erectus and modern humans, but more primitive anatomy than the later Neanderthal. Over more recent history, during the last 10,000 years, there have been significant changes for humans to adapt to. Agricultural living and plentiful food have led to health problems that we've used science to solve since that, such as treating diabetes with insulin, and in terms of looks, humans have become fatter and in some cases taller. Perhaps then we could evolve to be smaller so our bodies would need less energy, suggested Thomas Moland, senior lecturer in bioinformatics and big data at Anglia Ruskin University in London, which would be handy on highly populated planets, he said. Living alongside lots of people in a new condition humans have to adapt to. Back when we were hunter-gatherers, there would not have been a handful of interactions on a daily basis. Moland suggests that we may evolve in ways that help us to deal with this. Remembering people's names, for example, could become a much more important skill. And here's where the technology comes in. An implant in the brain would allow us to remember people's names, says Thomas. We know what genes are involved in building a brain that's good at remembering people's names. We might just change that. It sounds more like science fiction, but we can do that right now. We can implant it, but we don't know how to wire it up to make it useful. We're getting there, but it's very experimental. And we know what genes are involved in building a brain that is good at remembering people's names. We might just change that, he said. It's not really a biological question anymore, it's technological, he said. Currently, people have implants to fix an element of the body that's broken, such as a pacemaker or a hip implant. Perhaps in the future, implants will be used simply to improve a person. As well as brain implants, we might have more visible parts of technology as an element of our appearance, such as an artificial eye with a camera that can read different frequencies of color and visuals. We've all heard of designer babies. Scientists already have the technology to change the genes of an embryo, though it's controversial and no one's sure what happens next. But in the future, Moland suggests, it may be seen as unethical not to change certain genes. With that may come choice about a baby's features, so perhaps humans would look like what their parents want them to look like. It's still going to be a selection, it's just artificial selection now. What we do with breeds of dogs we'll do with humans, said Moland. This is all rather hypothetical, but can demographic trends give us any sense of what we may look like in the future? Predicting out a million years is pure speculation, but predicting into the more immediate future is certainly possible using bioinformatics. This is what Dr. Jason A. Hodgson, lecturer in Grand Challenges in Ecosystems and the Environment, said. Predicting out a million years is pure speculation, but predicting into the more immediate future is certainly possible using bioinformation by combining what is known about genetic variation now with models of demographic change going forward. And now we have genetic samples of complete genomes from humans around the world. Genetics are getting a better understanding of genetic variation and how it's structured in a human population. We can't exactly predict how genetic variation will change, but scientists in the field of bioinformatics are looking to demographic trends to give us some idea. Hodgson predicts urban and rural areas will become increasingly genetically diverse. All the migration comes from rural areas into the cities, so you get an increase in genetic diversities in cities and a decrease in the rural areas. he said, and what you might see is differentiation along lines where people live. It will vary across the world, but in the UK, for example, rural areas are less diverse and have more ancestry that's been in Britain for a longer period of time, compared with urban areas which have a higher population of migrants. Some groups are reproducing at higher or lower rates. Populations in Africa, for example, are rapidly expanding, so those genes increase at a higher frequency on a global population level. Areas of light skin color are reproducing at lower rates. Therefore, Hodgson predicts skin color from a global perspective will get darker. It's almost certainly the case that dark skin color is increasing in frequency on a global scale relative to light skin color, he said. I'd expect that the average person several generations out from now will have darker skin color than we do now. And what about space? If humans do end up colonizing Mars, what would we evolve to look like? With lower gravity, the muscles of our bodies could change structure. Perhaps we will have longer arms and legs. In a colder Ice Age type climate, we could even become even chubbier with insulating body hair like our Neanderthal relatives. We don't know, but certainly human genetic variation is increasing. Worldwide, there are roughly 2 new mutations for every one of the 3.5 billion base pairs in the human genome every year, says Hodgson, which is pretty amazing. It makes it unlikely we will look the same in 1 million years, he says. Humanity is in the midst of a mutational meltdown that is causing us to become smaller, slower, and dumber. We like to think of ourselves as the pinnacle of human existence, but the truth is that humans have been getting smaller, slower, and dumber for quite a while. So why is this happening? Over time, human DNA has accumulated an enormous amount of deleterious mutations, and each generation adds even more. Our DNA is essentially an instruction manual, and these deleterious mutations are essentially spelling mistakes in that manual. Eventually, there will be so many mistakes that our instruction manual is simply not functioning any longer, and that is a major problem. What this means is that the clock is running down on the human race, and that is a reality that most people don't want to face. I know a lot of you are already confused, so let me make this one step at a time. According to a recent BBC article, human brains are now significantly smaller than they were thousands of years ago. And this is on Collective Spark by Lucy Jones on BBC Earth. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.